Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Ankara Chugakara Name Sarkara Name Siddhikara Name Ankara Chugakara Name Sarkara Name Siddhikara Name Ankara Chugakara Name Long deep breath. Okay. Japa Saraswati, can we see the document talking?
I just sent it to all of the text messages. And now I'm going to start screen sharing. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. So, Japa Saraswati, do you want to talk?
Sure. All right, ETs with Delores Cannon. First, we'll tune in, and here's our message. Dear light workers, do you remember when we saw Yogi Bhajan at one summer solstice? He said offhandedly while pointing to the big top rafters, he showed us to our space brothers. I was really surprised, and sometimes ETs have been showing them to me from my mind. How about you? We are again told us from Delores Cannon because she told us so much about this Aquarian shift. I asked Baba Siri Chand if she was correct and much more, definitely. So let's get started about Dolores's works and then how she has found so much for ETs. Do you feel from her truth from inside your heart and body? We have 48 minutes for our video, so be aware for our long session today. It's amazing. Alien Chronicles, Delores Cannon. Here's the YouTube link. It's in all of our text messages. And then we'll do the meditation with 1 minute of heart pumping, 5 minutes of consciousness, no reality, which is strong heart breath, belly breath, nose inhalation for 6 seconds, nose exhalation for 6 seconds from out of your heart center. Slide from fear, let go from any of your old, nasty, difficult old stuff. No reality, no thinking, or no everyday self. Only feel, just be. Then 2 minutes to become awareness and understand what happened from everyday self. Use your notes. Listen and share. Lots of love. Siri Gian. Are we ready?
Yeah, this is it.
All right, this is it. Let's do a little heart breath, and I am going to do some tech here, okay?
Okay.
One mute, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen. So,
Okay.
stop share.
Hi, Harimandir.
Hi.
Hi there. How you doing?
Pretty well. This is such a big time yesterday and today, the next 2 or 3 days, that everything is changing. So,
Are you finding that?
well, I'm paying attention.
Oh, good. That's
Amen.
good. Right. Especially on Saturday. Oh, no, Friday on the 20th.
Yes.
Mhm.
And Dolores is going to be talking about that.
ETs.
ET.
Mhm.
Okay.
And in that video, you're actually going to see Delores Cannon. And she will also tell about her and her how she has started that.
I have been doing hypnotherapy for 40 years and specializing in past life regression therapy for 30 years and a UFO investigator for 20. So I'm very varied and I have experience in all phases of the paranormal and the unusual. And that's my passion, is to explore the unusual. I consider myself the reporter, the investigator, and the researcher of lost knowledge. I always want to make it perfectly clear that I am not a channeler. I don't channel and I'm not a psychic. I'm a hypnotherapist. And I've been doing hypnotherapy for 40 years. I started out way back when things were simple and they had the old-fashioned methods. But I got into past life therapy and past life regressions about 30 years ago. That's my main field, is I do the therapy by taking people into their other lifetimes to find the answers to problems in this lifetime. And I developed my own technique, my hypnotic technique, that is very different from the ones the other hypnotists use. And that's important because I've found a way to reach the subconscious where you can find a great deal of information that way. And I can have the answers to just about anything that I want. And that's why I think I've been able to get the information on all the subjects that I've written about. After I began doing the past life regressions with hypnosis, they asked me to be an investigator with the UFO phenomena. This was in 1986, the same time I was working on many other projects. But I live in Arkansas, and they wanted somebody who could work with these abductees, supposed abductees. They had called in psychologists to help. Well, the psychologists would start putting them under, getting them on board the craft and starting into the scene. They would suddenly just wake the person up. And they said, sorry, I don't know what to do. I don't know what questions to ask. It's not in the book. They don't know what to do with it. And that to me is not therapy. The person would be more confused than ever once they were woken up like that. So they wanted to know if I would help with these. They said, "You've been involved in the bazaar for so long." They said, "We don't think you'll be frightened." I'm not, because I just so curious that I go along with anything. But I had not done UFO cases. My method put the people into past lives, and this meant I was going to have to focus on this life. So I didn't know if it was going to work or not. The first time I did it, they were having a MUFON meeting with all the investigators at a state meeting. And they wanted me to put this woman under just so they could ask questions. They were bringing her in from Oklahoma. And she didn't know us, we didn't know her. And I said, this is a goldfish type atmosphere. Not exactly the best type of an environment to do this kind of work. But surprisingly, it worked. And they didn't know it was the first time for me to try that. I knew I had to adapt my technique. They didn't know it was my first time to do it. It worked beautifully. And after that, I began doing more and more cases with UFO phenomena. And the work I've done now for the last 20 years in this field, I have found to be positive. I know a lot of the other investigators are getting the negative and the fear, but I haven't found that. Some of the things I'm going to say might sound a little strange, because in my work, I began to have direct contact with the ETs. And that's pretty broad, but they're the ones that have been answering the questions and been telling me what's actually going on during the regressions. They said that the ideal situation would be that the person never remember anything, that they be totally blanked out, because that's the way it's supposed to be. These things have been going on since the beginning of Earth, and many of these people, they have been following them through their life with testings and with helping them their entire life. So it'd be better if they don't remember so they can go on with their life. But they said the problem is nowadays the chemistry of our brain. It's what we're exposed to with the chemicals in our food, the additives, the preservatives, and the pollutants in the air, the environment, how it affects the body. If the person is on any kind of drugs, or medications, or alcohol, it affects the chemistry of the brain, so that the information that comes through is distorted. They are remembering an event like a dream. They're not remembering it the way it actually happened. They are remembering it with a distorted view of what they think happened. And then you bring in fear because they don't understand it. And they said fear is the strongest emotion that humans have. And when you bring in the fear, it colors the whole experience. So, like they have these support groups, I've been to some of them, and to me, I don't think it's therapy. It's just each one's fear playing off the other person's fear. So when I began doing the session, in my technique, I'm able to get the conscious mind, the emotions out of the way, so that doesn't interfere with what we're getting. You get into the deeper part of the person, you get the real meaning of what's happening. And when that happens, they'll wake up and say, well, if that's what happened, I can handle it. And then we can get therapy. And it's never the fear-based things that the other therapists are coming up with. But when I was working on this for quite a while, the ETs began coming through these people, because I work in the deepest possible level of trance. They would come through and they'll say, you're the one we're supposed to give the information to. What do you want to know? So they have been telling me everything about what happens with these situations, where they're from, how the ships are powered, everything. And I say, you don't ever tell me, what do you want to know? Because I want to know everything. I'm so curious, I want to ask lots and lots of questions. All right, in the beginning, I had a lot of missing time cases, which you probably heard about, where the person has time that's not accounted for. But in some of mine, like the one woman was going, she left work and she was going to get lunch. And the people in the office wanted her to get lunch for them. Well, she went out to get lunch and she comes back and they said, well, it's time to go home now. We don't want it. She had lost half of the day. And another time she was going to a party and she got on the freeway. When she gets there, they said, well, you could have told us you were going to be late. We're leaving now. She would lose whole blocks of time like that. So when I did the session with her, I found out she was being taken, car and all, off of the freeway. So I asked them, I said, can you do that? And they said, certainly, we can do anything. So I said, well, why didn't you take the car? Couldn't you have just taken her and left the car there? They said that would have presented a problem because the police would have come, there would have been a car sitting on the freeway all by itself. Much easier to just take the car off the freeway. And I said, yes, but what about the people on the freeway? Wouldn't they be surprised seeing a car going up in the air? They said they will see it, but they won't remember what they saw. So they are able to manipulate time and space and matter. I've had a lot of cases where people will be driving on a highway and see a huge UFO right over the freeway. They pull off to watch it, and they can't figure out, why does everybody just keep driving? They should be slamming on their brakes and stopping to see what it is, because it's a very individual thing. The sightings and the experiences are only for the person they're intended for. Many people will have experiences and their husband's in bed asleep, and it's not for them, it's just for the one person. So it's a very individual thing. And I've had many of these where they were taken like that. I had a woman in Hawaii who was at a convention, and she wanted to drive down to a hotel on the ocean to have dinner. She was driving down there and she missed the entrance to the hotel. And she went up a little further to turn around and go back. And when she did, she found this beautiful mobile home park with palm trees and flowers. She turns in to go around and go back. The next instant, she was on the other side of the island, going the opposite direction, and it was night. And later she went back to see if she could find this place again, and she never could find it. So she wanted to know what happened. So when I took her under, they said she drove in, and they took her up in a beam of light, the car and everything, onto the UFO. But I said, what about this place, you know, because she couldn't find it. They said, oh, we just created a place for her to see, something beautiful, she would feel safe going in and turning around. So they have amazing abilities to do these things. And it's not trickery, it's just to make you feel more comfortable. There's many cases of them appearing as animals, and owls is very common because they don't want to harm the person's psyche if they can. They want to be as easy about the whole thing as they can, and they will appear as animals and birds doing strange things. But the missing time cases are interesting, but to me the most fascinating cases are the condensed time, where something happens in a much shorter time than it is supposed to happen. And I've had one where the woman left, I live in Arkansas, and the woman left Little Rock to go home. And this is a phenomenon I've heard repeated again and again. She's driving at midnight to go home. She's driving down the freeway, and there's no other cars anywhere. You got a 6-lane freeway, no sign of life. And then you enter what is called twilight zone, dead sound. They have different words for it. It's all of a sudden as though they're in a vacuum. There are no noises anywhere, as though they're suddenly, just like twilight zone would be a very good name for it. They are suddenly out of reality. And she drove on until she reached the road to go to her house. And as she went up the road, she saw this huge light over a grove of trees, and she was watching that. And she got up in the middle of the road. Here again, there's no noises, no night noises, no lights in any of the houses. She gets up a little further, and in the middle of the road, she saw the first sign of life, if you want to call it that, It was an ordinary house cat sitting in the middle of the road on its haunches with its feet in the air, frozen in that position as it was staring at the light. And you know what was happening there? She was moving faster than the time or place around her. Like everything was frozen in another dimension. And two dimensions were sliding past each other at that time. She wouldn't have known it if she hadn't have seen the cat. The light went out like an eye closing, and she got home. It only took her 15 minutes to go home, which would normally have taken over an hour. And she went in and woke up her husband and said, remember what time I came in. I had another case a few weeks later at another big city in Arkansas where the woman was pulling off the freeway at night, and she also saw a huge light. And she was following her as she went off into the city. And again, it was like this vacuum, no sound, no sign of life, no people, nothing. She's driving down the street, all of the lights are going out in front of her as she approaches them. And it got so strange that finally she wanted to pull in a mall, somewhere where there would be people. And she saw an all-night restaurant, but there were cars parked out there, but there were no sign of life at all. So she went on until she finally got to her house. And when she did, the light sped off, and all of the sound came crashing in on her at once. Well, when I did the session with her, naturally I wanted to know what was going on because I'd had several of these dead zone type experiences. They said, just because you see a UFO doesn't always mean you've been abducted. They said, we have to stop your world for a fraction of a second. And I said, what do you mean? They said, we have to catch you off guard. I said, we aren't on guard. They said, you're on guard more than you think you are. So we have to get your attention, stop your world for a fraction of a second. I said, then what? They said, then the information is downloaded into the subconscious mind on the cellular level. So I said, what kind of information do you mean? They said, information you will need in the future when we go through the changes, and we're going to have so many strange things happening. There'll be information that you need, and you won't even know where it came from. And this is being downloaded everywhere. This is what I found out the crop circles are. They communicate with symbols, and they put blocks of information into one symbol. It's all mind to mind. The subconscious mind recognizes the symbol, and it knows the information is downloaded. You don't have to be in the crop circles. All you have to do is see the symbol. And this is also downloading information. They gave me an example. They said, you communicate so slowly, you humans. You put one word behind the next word to make a sentence, to make a paragraph. They can communicate with entire concepts all at one time. The concepts are in that symbol. The example they gave me was like the word Christmas, Xmas. He said, what does that Xmas mean to you? People say Christmas, but it means much more than that. You start thinking about it, you have green and red, Christmas trees, nativity scene, wise men, Jesus, Santa Claus, you know, silver bells. You can fill pages full of what is in that one word. That's what they mean. Whole concepts of information are passed instantaneously into the mind, and that's the way they communicate. So that is how they are communicating with us, through symbols. Some of the important information that they gave me that we needed to understand was about the seeding of the planet Earth. And a lot of people have trouble with this because they think that, where is God in this whole picture? And are they playing God? But they say this is the way life has been done throughout the universe forever. Life is never allowed to just simply spontaneously develop. That if it did, it would be very chaotic. And to produce a thinking, intelligent human being would have taken millions more years if it was happening by normal evolution than it would have taken. And it would still not have got to the point we are now. And they said they do this because they create life on other planets because this is the way they were created, by what they call the archaic ones, the ones from the very beginning, have been doing this forever. And they said there are councils over all of this. There's definitely rules and regulations that govern everything. And the councils have the history books of all of the planets and all the records. So when a planet reaches the point that it can support life, that's a very momentous time in the history of that planet. At that time, the planet is given its life charter. And they set about trying to decide what will grow there. And they have cells from everywhere. This is part of what the sampling that goes on, the people don't understand, the testing. They are accumulating cells, sperm, ova. Doesn't matter where they get them. It all goes into the massive laboratory banks in the laboratory craft. And I asked them one time, where did the cells come from that created life on Earth? They said it doesn't matter because it's mixtures. They put everything together to see what will grow there, what will grow in the primeval soup of the chemicals of whatever place it is. So they experiment to see what will take a foothold. And they begin with single-celled organisms. And they hope that it will take hold and begin to clump together to form a multi-celled organism. They said you would be surprised what you could have looked like. But imagine the amount of time this would take. It'd be eons of time as all of this happened. In that time, they're coming back from time to check on everything. It's really like Star Trek. They have their assignments and they go and check on different planets and the different stages of development and then give it a little nudge here and there. But by the time it developed animals, then it was time to decide which animal will we manipulate the DNA so it can become a thinking human being. This is the ultimate, is to become intelligent and be able to function. So they chose the ape because it had the greatest brain capacity and also it had the hands. You would have to have hands to make tools, to build a civilization. So they chose that one and they began to manipulate the DNA to eventually turn it into a human being. And they said you will never find the missing link because there isn't any. It jumped generations so fast. And eventually it became developing. In my work, I have had people go back to lifetimes when all of this was happening and they were half animal and half man as they went through the evolution. And imagine the patience of these people to be doing this over millions of years as it develops. As it began to develop and became a thinking human being, they would come and live among the people and give them what they needed next. Every culture in the world, every culture has the legend of the culture bringer. Someone who brings fire, who teaches them how to make corn. The Indians have the corn woman, teaches them how to plant. Every civilization has these legends. And in the legends, the culture bringer always comes from the sky or from across the ocean. And that is the legends, it was what they were teaching. And they would live among these people because they can live as long as they want. They can live hundreds and hundreds of years with these people helping them as they developed. So they began to be thought of as gods. And this came down to us with legends. So that's a lot of what has been happening. Nowadays, there's so many people in the world that can't live among us to give us the next advancement we need. So it's put into the atmosphere. And anyone who can receive the idea will be the one that develops the next invention. You hear about people all over the world developing things at the same time. They don't care who invents it as long as it is invented in the time span that it's supposed to be. And that's the way it's done now. Well, this all sounded very good, but something happened to spoil the whole experiment. They call it the grand experiment because they said, let's give this beautiful planet a creature with intelligence and free will and see what he does with it. And I don't think they're very pleased with what we're doing with it. But the law of non-interference is very real. They cannot interfere in the development of the species. They have to just let us go along with whatever we're doing. And I asked them one time, well, when you give these things, corn, fire, how to plant, isn't that interference? They said, no, it's a gift. We give them to the people as a gift once. What they do with it is their own free will. And many times man has taken something and turned it into something negative, not what it was intended to be at all. I said, well, can't you just come back and tell them you're not doing it right? They said, no, because that is interference. They can give it to you one time. What you do with it is your own free will. After that, they have nothing to say about it. I think that's important. It does go along with the Star Trek idea of non-interference. But something happened when the species was developing. They said if it had happened when the species was fully developed, it wouldn't have caused as much problem. But the species was developing when a meteorite hit the Earth. The meteorite had bacteria on it that was unknown to the Earth, and it created disease for the first time. And the developing species couldn't handle it. So they were very upset about it because they knew for the first time their experiment would be limited. It would have disease and that it would die. This was not the way it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be live as long as you want like they do and have no disease. This meteorite brought the bacteria that the species were not compatible with. They went back to the council and said, now what do we do? Do we throw the whole thing out and start over again? Or do we let it continue to develop the way it's been developing? It was decided to allow it to continue to develop because so much time and effort had been put into it, not to keep it from happening. But they knew it would never be the perfect species it was supposed to be. The reason I'm telling you this is because it will explain the testing and the things that people find so negative, they don't understand. Now they are doing the testing on people because they're still trying to get us back to that perfect species we were supposed to be in the beginning. They're very concerned about the increase in cancer, about the effects of the environment and our food on the human body, and they know it's not helping the human body. So they do the constant testing, and many different generations. I've worked with people where the grandmother, the mother, everybody in the family have been part of this. Now, a lot of them don't know it consciously. They're following the generations and as their development. And they check them to see how the body is responding. And when they're doing this, they are also trying to find cures for these different diseases people have, and they're manipulating the DNA in the people's body so they can resist disease, and also they are extending our lifespan. So I don't find anything negative in any of this. And that would explain a lot of these things people see when they're on on the ships is the different testings, and also explains the sperm, the ova, all of that. But they have our best interests at heart because they want us to be this perfect species. We are going into a wonderful time when the whole earth is going to change. And those who have been part of this will be the ones who move into the new dimension. The Earth is changing its frequency and its vibration to move into an entirely different dimension. And the rest of these people who have been experimented on and upgraded, so to speak, will be the ones that go on with the new Earth because they're the ones that can handle it. The other ones, their bodies can't. And they said the human species must not perish. We must have some survive. They're afraid we're going to blow up the Earth. And they said that was the only time they would be allowed to interfere, is if we take it that far. But they want some of the species to be saved. And some people have told me, you know, about they're here to take over the world. And I know I've heard some of the other speakers talk about the implants are to trigger them, to help them be like robots to take over the world. None of that is true at all. They said, why do people say we're here to take over the world? It's ours. It always has been. We can't do anything as bad to you as you do to yourself. So they're really afraid of us, our violence, and they're waiting for us to get out of this violence and get all of these wars and everything out of the picture. Then we can join with them. That's the idea of developing a species like this. They want us to join with them and do the same things they're doing, traveling in space, because they said we have curiosity and creativity that they think would be very important to the universe as it develops. So there's a whole lot more to this than people think. And I have not found the negativity. Once you find out why it's happening, it takes on a whole different look. You remove the human fear. And they're really very caring people, and they're doing a lot to help people. People have asked me if I had any contact with them. Only through the people I work with, and they're very personal. They have changed my diet. They've taken care of me and advised me on where to go and where not to go, so I consider them as friends. But they've asked me if I've seen them. I told them I want to work with them, but I don't want to see them. I guess I'm chicken. But I felt that I could be more objective as a reporter if I was not directly involved with everything that was going on. I've worked with thousands of people in my work, everywhere, all over the world. I could be more objective if I could stand back and view it. So they said if that's what I want, they would honor my wishes. I've had strange experiences, and I've seen strange lights and things occurring, but I just as soon not be in the middle of it. And I think that's the way it should be. I call them they, but they are huge groups. There are many different types, and there are many different types of craft. The huge mother craft are like cities within cities. They're enormous. That's where the laboratories are. And the little craft are the ones that you see going back and forth. Those are the smaller ones. The bigger, larger ones are the huge mother craft. And they have many people on board these craft of different races from all over the universes. It's much bigger and much wider than you could ever imagine. But they all have their jobs to do, and there are things that they're involved with. Some people talk about the ones that look like insects. They said that's because they're different types of beings have gone in different directions. Some went the insect line, the insectoid. Other ones went the reptilian type. We went the mammal line. It could be anything. Any type of life. That's just the way they went. Doesn't mean there's anything negative about it. It means they function in a different way, different mentalities, but it's just different forms of life. They don't like the fact that we're doing all these horrible things. That's what they said. They can't understand how we can kill someone of our own kind. It just doesn't make sense to them at all. The idea they're trying to get us to change our civilization, get over this negativity because of the violence. They're very afraid of that. We can't join them until we get through with the violence and these wars that we're having right now. We have to get through all of that first. They have told me about these things because they said in the beginning, when they were coming here, many groups were allowed to come because there were things on Earth they could use. And one of it was certain kinds of minerals that we don't need They're not that important to us, but other different planets and groups, this is very important to them. Some of it they use to power their spacecraft. So they've been allowed by the councils to come and take these things over many generations. But as the world became more and more populated, they couldn't just land and take these things. Then they had to begin working with governments to make deals so that they could take the things they need. And this has come down to our time, as to where they did make deals with the government, the U.S. government, different ones of the world. They could get what they wanted in exchange for things they could give our government. But they said the problem is that our government went back on the deals. And I think, how stupid can you be to try to cheat someone who can read your mind? So they began doing things that were not right. The aliens, when they make a deal, they will stick to it. But they said, we're not giving them as much as we used to. They said one of the things they gave them was in vitro fertilization and the open heart surgeries, not the open heart so much as the artificial hearts, those that were giving those kind of information. And they said a lot of the information they gave the government was supposed to be used for peace. Especially the stealth bomber, those type of information was given by the aliens. It was supposed to be for transportation. And they said the government turns around and turns it into a weapon, which was not supposed to be. In that case, they feel betrayed. So they said, we're not giving them as much information as we could. And incidentally, with Roswell isn't the only example of a crash landing. I've investigated some other ones too. There are many have come down through the recent years. And one of them was in Kentucky in the 1970s that I investigated. And the man who told me about it wouldn't allow his name or anything to be used because he had been threatened by the government. The man came to me. His wife wanted him to see me as a hypnotherapist because he was having terrible nightmares and she knew he needed help. He said he was in the Army in a helicopter. He was not the pilot, but he was part of a group in a helicopter. And they thought a plane had crashed. And they came in with the helicopters and landed to see about the plane. Instead, they found a small craft had crashed. And when they looked inside, there were these bodies, they were all dead. And there was clear fluid everywhere. Well, right at that time, another helicopter landed, was full of officers. They came over and told them, you get back on your helicopter and get out of here. And we'll see you back at the base. When they got back to the base, they went under 24 hours of like brainwashing, saying you did not see what you thought you saw, there was nothing there, you know, that kind of thing. Then they told them, if you ever tell anyone about this, we will hunt you down and kill you and your family. Then they took all of those men and shipped them, transferred them to different bases so they would never have contact again. So I know there has been many of these cases, besides just the one in Roswell. And when I asked them about that, they said, normally our pilots are very good, but if they are caught in a thunderstorm, it's something about the electromagnetic field, it could cause the craft to crash. And I know in Roswell they did have a bad thunderstorm at that time. But as a rule, it's very rare for it to happen. The little grays are not what people think they are. They are robotic creatures. I called them a robot one time, and they said, it's not exactly a robot, it is a biologically created being. And you know, if we get around to making robots, we're going to make them look just like little humans. Say the smaller version of the tall gray scientists that are on the laboratory craft. Right? When they travel by shifting their vibrations and frequencies. All they have to do is raise the vibration of the craft. It's like watching a fan blade or a propeller on a plane. When it speeds up, it becomes invisible. That's what happens with them. When they speed up the vibration and frequency of the craft, it will disappear into the other dimension. People have reported seeing a light in the sky will suddenly blink out. And other times they'll see one just appear. That's when they slow down the vibration to come into our atmosphere. This is very hard on them. They don't like to be in our density. This is a very low, dense vibration. They would rather stay out of our atmosphere. So when they have to send the beings down to do the samplings and the testing on the humans and take them, they will always come in the small craft, and you will usually see the little gray beings. The little gray beings have been created to withstand the density of the earth, the heaviness. And that's all they are. To me, they're like, I call them gophers. They're the ones that just do the chores and do what they're supposed to do and take the things back, because it's too hard on their bodies to enter our dimension. And sometimes people have told me they have seen like tall blondes in their room, but usually they have a see-through quality. This is because it's not really them. It is like a holographic projection into the room of this being, because they don't want to experience that. So you're going to see more of the little beings in the smaller craft than you will the others, and the large craft stays out of the atmosphere. Occasionally, a person has to have tests done that will have to be done on the larger craft. In that case, they will take the person and they have to speed up the vibration and frequency of the human body so they can exist in that environment for a short period of time. They do it as quick as they can because it's very hard on the human body. And they put them into a hypnotic-like state because they don't want them to remember, they don't want it to hurt the psyche. So they take them on board the larger craft, do what they have to do, and bring them back. Now, I have had people talk about waking up feeling paralyzed and with bruises on their body. And they'll say, what happened? Did they take me and beat me up? All that happened was when you do this raising of the vibration and lowering the vibration again, they said they have to lower the vibration to bring you back. Just that act of breathing can create bruises on the body because the molecular structure and the cellular structure is not by the right vibration. And then when they come back into the body, it takes a few seconds to get back into this vibration and to hook it all up again, so they have this feeling of paralysis if they happen to wake up at the wrong time. And the bruises are just from the shifting of the dimensions. To me, that makes a whole lot more sense. I've done lectures, and especially in Australia, and people would start crying in the audience, and I said, well, I hope I'm not saying something to offend you. They said, no, for the first time it all makes sense. People have told me about they've seen triangle-shaped marks on their body, usually 3 dots. They said all that is when we do take you on the craft, we're doing upgrades and testing the body. If we find that you need anything, any adjustments, they have machines that do this. Some of them make marks on the body, but they said it's not important, the mark goes away, but that's all it is. It's nothing negative as people think it is. If they're very concerned about our body and what we are doing to it, the effects of the environment and the pollution, they are also concerned with what we are eating and what we are consuming. The cattle mutilation has to do with the testing of the meat to see what is in there, what growth hormones, what additives have been put into the cattle itself. The blood, they have to check all of this because it is what we are consuming. And they said they're not doing as many of these as people blame them for. But that's all it is. They said it's not only cattle, they also test the plants, many different things that we consume to make sure it's safe for our body and what it's doing to our body. To me, that makes more sense than the other people are talking about. If there is a message from them is that they do want us to join with them eventually, but they want us to know we are children of the stars. We have been created and taken care of since the beginning of time. They have no desire to harm us. They are our caretakers. And they love the species because they love the way it's developing. They don't like what we're doing. But if there's a message, it's to let people know that they are not negative and they are here to help us. They will eventually appear in mass, but it won't be until we get our act together. And at that time, they will appear and let everyone know they're here. And they said at that time they would also give us lots of medications and cures and help the bodies. At one time, I had a regression, which I thought was a regression. Actually, it was a future progression. A man was in a football stadium, and this huge UFO came down into the football stadium. And they got out and announced to the people they were finally going to announce themselves to the world. And they were here to help the world with the medications and all the things we were going to need. And they said this is occurring simultaneously all over the world where lots of people were gathered. They would appear instantaneously all over the world to these people. And that way the governments would not be able to deny it. But they said there will still be some people sitting in that stadium who will not believe what they see with their own eyes. But when this happens, we will be traveling in space, living in space, wonderful inventions you can't even imagine. They're going to give us a non-polluting form of power, of energy that will be placed on a space station and beamed to the Earth. And these are some of the amazing things they're going to give us. And the human body will be perfected to the point it will never die. But a lot of things are going to happen when we go into the new Earth. And they have tried and tried to help us repair the old Earth that we're on. We have damaged it so much. They said we have polluted the waters, we have polluted the earth, the sky, the dirt, the animals, everything is suffering. They are trying and trying to repair it, and they said it's got to the point they don't think they can do it anymore. They want people to do it, but people are not getting the message, and they're not going to get it fast enough before everything is just going to come to a head, and it won't be able to handle it anymore. This is what some of the earth changes are happening now. The tsunami in Indonesia is the beginning of this. There will be many, many more after this because the earth itself is rebelling. The earth itself is a living being, and it will come back at us. They said like a dog shaking off fleas, it will rebel. It's done it before many, many times. And if we don't get our act together, it will do this major shift. And they said they don't think there's time. They can't interfere to a certain extent. They've tried to send energy into the earth, but it's not going to be enough. This is why we are going to be shifting into what is called the new earth, a different frequency and vibration. And the whole earth will shift into another dimension. And at that time, they hope this will be much better. It will be beautiful, it will be pristine, it will be clean, and the old earth will be left over here with all of the earth changes, the cleansing going on that it's going to need. But there will be millions and millions of people will leave at that time because they will not be able to survive. And Annie Kirkwood, she's the one who wrote Mary's Message to the World, was at a conference that I was at, and she talked about a vision she had of the new earth. She said she saw the earth, then she saw it begin to pull apart and divide like two cells dividing. And when she did, it pulled apart into two earths. Over here on this earth, she heard them saying, "We did it, we did it." Over here they were saying, "Poor thing, she died believing all that." So they will not even be aware that anything has occurred when this switch happens. And we go into the new vibration, new frequency. They said it's happening now. You can feel it around you. A lot of people feel it in their bodies if they're sensitive to it. They know something is happening. We're living in exciting times, and there's a lot ahead of us. We don't need to be held back by fear of these other things, fear of the unknown. They're all there to help us.
And here we are. Okay. So now we are having 1 minute heart jumping and begin. And now we have 5 minutes for consciousness, no reality. Inhale. Exhale. And continue breath. And now listening. Use your notes. 2 minutes. And inhale. And exhale. And breathe. And now, Aagia Pal. Here you go.
So, um, so what Baba said to me was, allow the unimaginable. As Dolores was talking, and I, hear or heard what she was relating, I said, wow, this is way beyond my ability to even comprehend. Um, and as I began to, just to let it sink in, um, to again allow the unimaginable. It's all good, he said. And as I allow the unimaginable, it will, I feel as though my perception, my ability to perceive what is beyond my experience will expand, to welcome the ever expanding consciousness of love, and the importance um, of love, and of spreading love, because as she mentions at the end, we're in big trouble. The earth is really in trouble. And so I think that's what was really hammered home to me, is that the little teeny thing that I can do to stay on the side of love and to be a love worker, like a light worker and a love worker, and um, and to show the living being of Mother Earth how much I love her, and the other and all the other sentient beings on this earth. And the other thing I as I listened, I was like, wow, what Dolores, the ability that they gave her to, how do I say this? They gave her information that that could be translated in human terms. And because what is um, ET, what is beyond us, is beyond our conceptualization abilities. But what happened there, and why she was so influential and such a gift, is that she was able to take the information somehow they gave her and put it into terms that human language could uh, you know could relate to, could say, could communicate. And um, to me, I think that was the most amazing thing that I got from this, that realization that these ETs, they are um, communicating and know enough to give information, in a way that we can understand. She's talking about these huge city ships and so forth, and that's in our terms of, we can imagine, or somewhat imagine that. And so to me, that was amazing. Otherwise, there could be no flow of information, because there would be nothing that would settle on our concepts, on our paradigms, on our anything. And so she was able to be that sort of midwife person that could take from the ETs yes, what they wanted to inform us about, and put it into terms that are understandable for us. So and also what she is saying is corroborated by so many, there's a lot of people that are saying the same thing, that we're all moving into this new, but she talked about that. She didn't say bifurcation, but I believe that that's what was the overall message at the end. And so moving into the new earth, the new world, and it will, some will and some won't. And so I'm like, yeah, it's every, there's a critical mass of people saying kind of the same thing. So it brings me to a point of, okay, I'm on board, and I'm with you, and I will continue to amp up my work as a love worker, and a light worker. And I think that's all I jotted down. Yeah, just the importance of allowing the unimaginable, not being afraid, but being open, and and yeah, being open and allowing, be educatable, to listen and to be able to understand more and take more direction. And I guess that's it. Yeah, and then just just continue my job of spreading love. Okay, I think that's all that came through for me. Thank you for listening.
That's good.
Hmm.
Wow, that's a lot, huh? Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Gian Das Prem.
Satnam. Hmm. Listening. Hmm. It's so cool to have a practice that allows you to breathe and to focus and to have intentions for our daily lives, and then to realize where that's moving us on a grander scale. So seeing both views of the split earth and noticing, right, the two sides, and being okay, knowing who we are and being okay with it from all species, from the imagined to the known to the newly discovered, the Trinity. Uh, Hamya, Heya, Hoa. And within the Trinity, right, there's could be this food as well too, right? And 3D food can create a mood and an attitude that we have maybe been living with for a while. So we're moving into 5D food within this is encompasses the from the sun to the water, from the thought, everything that we're consuming and you know, sponging. We can come and go with whom you are mentioning. In other words, that's sort of bringing us into that vast expanse of just opening up into that knowledge and releasing or cleansing, coming, you know, allowing that which is love to come through the fear and come out with the earth replenishing itself for this family of to grow, to come a little bit closer together with our combined knowledge through the civilizations before us, which we are studying still at this time and using knowledge. And also we have cultures that we're sharing in this melting pot of all these realities and just these, you know, knowing how we're working with our machines and whatnot and making our decisions with that. Um, and seeing that energy like it's a lightning bolt and yeah, it's I'm seeing a horse, you know, and you have to train them to do certain duties, and they have this incredible knowledge, right, of what water is clean, which they're amongst other species. There aren't many who know, you know, what water to drink, and there are. So that part of the earth replenishing is coming through for that. And we can go on we can go on rides with our guides, however you want to look at it. Um, you can pick one, or you can state where you maybe want to travel, see that place, because I'm seeing people around me who are telling me, you know, what planet they're from and what their trajectory is and what their volume is here on Earth, and I've been to meet a couple of these people and, you know, walked in these certain places where, yes, I believe that certain things do happen like that. And for me, I'm in the Northwest now, and I've been down to Mount Shasta, and you know, I'm making my way up around here in the Pacific Northwest and finding that, you know, there are a lot of lights moving around here naturally. And some of them are from the guides that we're seeing or from these vibrations that we're creating, right? And seeing them come through certain apertures. I believe myself to have experiences, and it's nice to hear from all of the, different people who are speaking their truth and coming through in that way. Yeah. And for me, it's like dreaming, and we're still in this consciousness, right? But yet we can build on that practice, whether it's for remote or for inner, and as we're doing this here now. Yeah. And the song that's been coming through so powerful, there's actually two songs, and one of them is from the 60s, late 60s or early 70s, I believe. It's called Crystal Blue Persuasion. It's just this beautiful song with sort of a flamenco guitar in it, and it speaks about peace and good and brotherhood, and seeing, for me, it's seeing the earth, that crystal blue ball with all of these beautiful things on it. Sort of, it's like a persuasion. There's been a plea, there's been a calling, and now I guess it's sort of a persuasion that I'm feeling, and deeper breathing, and just maybe go the stairs, instead of the elevator, and yeah, bring it up into the voice with the singing and the chanting of all of this shared. Now that we have all these holidays, it's so beautiful to have, what I want to look into that. And for me, it's the songs, the music, the chanting, and go there and celebrate that new year, and, see the horse being dressed up and these beautiful ways, and the recognizing there. Yeah. And Waheguru. Yeah. Like, right on. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's just so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And Gian Das Prem, can you tell us what you have found with fifth dimension or the ETs? Can you let us know what you have seen?
Yes, I have seen a few different. Well, yesterday I will have to say that it felt like there was something above us the whole time, like rainbow energy. I could feel that it was just, a constant rainbow almost all day yesterday, like this beautiful energy coming down. And I see energy, and I have been awakened by it a couple of times. And within today, I was also seeing part of that entry point, because I had only seen the exit point as far as my traveling experiences with the light, which have been limited to only a little bit of memory. But hypnotization is really a magical thing, as well as I do Reiki, and I experience it, and it's with the vibration of how we're moving our heart. So I at Mount Shasta, I saw so many things and felt so many things. And yeah, I think going close to mountains and the ocean and water just has moving water, and being close to the mountain because the mountain has water, right? It's feeding the earth with water, and the light is coming from the top of the mountain and cleansing the water. So I've seen light go in and out of Mount Shasta. I have lost track of time a couple of times when I was younger. I can remember, waking up at the end of the bed in just these really strange positions. And yeah, so, and sometimes that can happen a little bit here and there, where I'll wake up really, really tired, and then within turning over, I'm ready to get up and go. So there's the a lot of it is in the water. I think for me lately, I've been blessing my water and blessing my tea and putting my hands over my food and whatnot before I eat it. And if I can eat it with my hands, that's even better, right? So yeah, there's so much of those experiences that I have been writing about as well too. And now, when I'm listening to the people that I'm with now, there's a couple of people that are writing about this too, that it's just how it happens, right? We meet the people that we need to know when we become honest within our practice, and how we're using that to share with other people to release that opinion. And sometimes there's the virility within that we can express through our practice, right? Building that inner heat in the body and allowing it to come out. And yeah, I mean, yes, and there are other physical signs and that I've had, within my body that probably wouldn't want to tell the world right now. But yeah, it's very interesting, and I am pleasured to meet people, because for me, it's the birthing. When you're there to witness that, it's just this wow, it's just this wahiguru. And when you're there with somebody who's preparing to leave, it's just this wahiguru. It's just that full completeness of it. I mean, they say, "Oh yes, okay," but it's really that part of the unknown that we are exploring within ourselves to rediscover that, that we can go back to that being inside of the mother. We can go back to that other life to realize, what was learned as being beyond like this earth, this outside of this bubble, to see back in. And yeah, and that's all within the breathing too. And we can challenge ourselves for that deeper breathing, and that can allow us, well, is it a hallucination? It sure is when you get to that point of, you're pushing yourself so much and you're right. It just happens and the body is still moving, but yet we have this calmness within our mind. And yeah, it's a Waheguru type of thing that we're sort of sharing now. So my hope is that people do see these types of things, like it looks like a rainbow, like going into the top of the mountain, but it's nighttime, and it's just like a flash or something. And that can be so many things. But as we have the technology to view a little bit more within the body, within the belief and whatnot, and yeah, for me, I'm going back to Egypt and the pyramids, and and their use of water, and here at this North America and their use of water and how they were building pyramids and whatnot at the same time, within so many years. And now here we are, we're building different things. So now it's information technology, right? So where we can almost get our vibration into that algorithm that will be able to create that form of what's needed within us. And then for that to allow this frequency for the travel ability to become maybe a little bit more fluid. And yeah, thank you so much for the ability to talk. Bye, Guru.
Thank you, dear. I appreciate that. And then also, we also have the group for healers. And when we were listening them, we also have situations from them, like you saw Satni Shan, right? Did everybody see her?
Beautiful.
Yeah, okay. And there are more situations. So hopefully we're going to see them from our healers as well. Thank you so much.
Bye,
Okay,
Guru.
Harimandir.
Yeah. I'm having a bit of a hard time with this today because my focus in the last several days has been on the changes that are happening right now, yesterday, today, through the 20th, what's going to be happening on the 25th. I find Delores interesting, curiosity. It seems like she's giving us stuff that was back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And what I just posted something on the chat, the big chat, of some of the the very specific of today, of yesterday, that this is a portal that certainly with the fire horse hasn't happened for the last 60 years. The last 60 years ago was all of Vietnam and changing. And if you go back 60 and 60 and 60, huge things happening. And I find those things very uplifting and possible. And this is a time, these 3 days, and this last eclipse yesterday, everything that's happening at once. We're having Ramadan and Lent and the eclipse and Ash Wednesday and the fire horse and everything happening just yesterday or day before yesterday. I think of it, yesterday and today. So I found Dolores's beyond comprehension, and the ending of it was a downer. If the ETs are worried about us and scared and have fear, what a message to be left with. So I think we need to move into what's happening now and listen to some of the people that are speaking of what the possibilities are to go through these portals, take advantage of the portal that is happening today. And one of the things that I'm passing on to other people that had to do with portals, and it was from a quote from Eckhart Tolle, and it was in response to something, but he said, love is what flows through when any of the portals are open. In that sense, our lives are like musical expressions of love. I love that that concept or that phrase. And we can't live in the past anymore. We can't even, I mean, it's amazing what Dolores did and knew in his 90s, 50 years ago. But I find I need the now. And the now is today and yesterday. And that is what gives me hope and gives me the idea of the change. They're all talking about the change, but in a much contemporary and immediate happening right now. So that's one of the, besides, maybe I said it, but it's with the fire horse, it's every 60 years. There's other things happening that haven't happened, that last happened 6,000 years ago. So this is such an important time for meditation, for seeing what we can seed into the present during these, from now until the end of February. Okay, I got out of this.
That's wonderful. Good. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Right. And would you think that maybe if we went for CNR, consciousness, no reality, would that help with our practice for CNR, especially on the 20th? What do you think?
Sure, it's all good. Yeah, I mean, whatever works with whatever labels
Mhm.
the labels that are confusing, but I think the labels are describing something that's universal for everybody. And the CNR is just for our small group. It's just a label that we have defined, but it's what CNR is doing. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay. And then, what do you suspect that maybe is love? And that is what it's like you were talking about flowing through the energy.
Right.
Is that true?
Of course. Yes.
Okay. Good. Thank you, dear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now, Japa Saraswati.
I'm gonna do screen sharing again so I can show you. Where's this picture? Here it is. Can you see this?
Yeah.
This
Wait,
is the
but
priestly blessing.
yeah, but look at the hands. That's in the other side. You'd have to switch your arms. Do you see that? Because it says that you see the palms
Yes.
and the thumbs. Do you see that?
You're pointing into the center?
Yes. See that? So you would have to cross the arms to see that.
Well, the palms are pointing out because in the priestly blessing, the um the descendants of Aaron, they will put it's a priest who puts his hands up by his shoulders and he recites a blessing that goes, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his countenance shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.
Mhm.
Isn't that, and so this is a blessing that that is received anyway. And it comes, what I'm coming back to is actually Gian Das Prem earlier today put was it today or yesterday, about Braca being the act of blessings, and then Rachmane went on to talk about Baruch, and and Baraka, the root Baraka is the thread that stitches the mundane world to the spiritual world. The thread that stitches the mundane world to the spiritual world, or everyday self to soul life, feel. And and it was so beautiful, but it really comes down to the thread, and well, and Baruch, which is knee, which is like bending the knee, an act of humility, of bowing to the divine. But I'm coming back to the word sutra in Sanskrit. The root of sutra is siv, which means to sew, and tra, the instrument of sewing. So sutra means a string or a thread. It's like a stitching of a string or a thread. And with them, it was about like stitching together the bindings of books, or stitching together they would write on palm leaves, but they would be stitched together. But for me, it's also the golden chain. It's also how we're linked to teachers past and generations past. Like I went to a class, I went to this class, and the teacher, I turned forward instead of to the side, And he said, "Hey, I didn't tell you to turn forward yet." And I said, "Oh, it was from one of the teachers before you," because he usually the teacher would have you turn forward at that moment, and I just naturally turned forward. I felt this connection through the golden chain of teachers, but I want to come back to the priestly blessing because I feel it's part of that golden chain. How do I say it though? Is because the source of the blessing is from the heart chakra, and then it travels through the arms, through energetic pathways through the arms, and it travels out the chakra at the palm, and that chakra at the palm is the same place where Jesus had stigmata. It's this place of blessing, and it's, I don't know how to say it, but it's I'm sure I've said this before, but this is part of why when we clean something, when we polish something, when we massage something, that this is continually a blessing, that this is blessing that thing, with using that energy center from our heart. And that's where I feel the golden chain of teachers also comes in. I feel that it's something that connects us, and it really comes out of us in the way that we bless, if that makes sense. Um, and and oh, and then because of the Rachmane, when her message, she signed the message with one of these little Spock hands, which they probably did to be funny, with Mr. Spock, or not to be to make an emoji that was funny. But I've always loved it because of the priestly blessing. And then so we've been talking about ETs, and I immediately thought of Mr. Spock, and sort of that, I don't know exactly, but I want to skip around a little bit to excuse me, to last week, what I was saying about gyroscopic precession and karma. When I said that it can take a long time for the karmas to play out if we've done something really big, and I specifically said sins, but it's also all karmas, whether it's positive or negative. So if we do a tremendous amount of hard work for a long time, it might seem like we're getting nowhere fast, but that's just gyroscopic precession taking a long time to catch up with all of that karma, and and it just takes a while. And then the other thing that I was feeling was kind of coming about the okay, so what I said about my therapist talking about menopause, what I remembered it more after the conversation. And what she said was that at first it's like getting adjusted to having this rhythm. You go from girlhood to being a teenager, and you have to get adjusted to being on this rhythm, and then you're adjusted to it, and then she said it's like the rhythm wobbles a bit, and she talked about it in a really planetary way, like the axis was, you were wobbling on the axis, or the axis was wobbling sort of, and then that it stopped completely, and then that it was all of a sudden the absence of that old rhythm, and then the gradual, or not even necessarily gradual, but the recognizing of new rhythms coming up. And what I felt was about Mother Earth entering a menopause, that I thought, wow, I these shudders, these great climate disasters and whatnot are like Mother Earth being thrown off of her regular usual rhythms. And what I felt about the blessing from the aliens, like from Mr. Spock, from the priestly blessing, um, is that like Dolores said, that this was always their planet and that they are just doing non-interference um and waiting for us to figure it out, and that it's only as bad as we can do to ourselves. That I feel that when the aliens are interacting with us, it is going to be a blessing in this way, a connection to this golden chain of, it's an expansion of humanity, because humanity is only relating to humans, but my feeling is that our consciousness is expanding to animals the way that Aagia Pal is interacting with Snow Dancer and all of the other creatures, that we're expanding our consciousness to include other beings like aliens, and that that's part of how we are expanding consciousness on this planet to animals and animal consciousness. And the blessing of oh how do I say it, to interact with the aliens. Oh, I don't think I can quite make it come out right now, but I'll come back to it in the not so distant future.
Okay. So also I want to give your understanding, like Gian Das Prem, what do you have, uh, what have you felt about all of these things from fifth dimension and ET and so on? Do you feel those things or see them?
Well, the fifth dimension is upon us. Um, and I guess I feel neutral about it, but I see not but and I see that um that it's a transition, like I feel it in suppression, okay? What I feel about, like, I don't know if you guys have been watching the stuff with the FCC and Stephen Colbert, and they just told him he couldn't interview somebody, a Texas politician, because of equal access that he was then supposed to give the opponent. Anyway, it's about suppression. Part of it's about suppression, and I notice it across the board, across workplaces, across ashrams, across governments, across means of communication like media, newspapers, that when there is the suppression of somebody else's speech or expression, and this isn't the only thing, it's also liberty. It's trying to impose your will on somebody else's will or change their free will, that this person is really stuck in the old dimension and not ready for transcendence. And it's causing them a lot of pain and confusion to see people fighting back. Like, part of what it is they've got their fingers in their ears saying, la, 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 we can't hear the message, and it's like they're trying to create a lot of noise to hold on to their old beliefs, old patterning, old way of life, old thinking, and there's so much of it. It's rampant in this world. It's rampant in this world that people want to, one person wants to suppress another person. But what it's really about is them holding on to what they, oh gosh, there's a great line from the Indigo Girls. I sailed my ship of safety till I sank it. I sailed my ship of safety till I sank it. And these people are just they're with their fingers in their ears. They're in their safe place saying, I'm holding on to my position of privilege. I'm holding on to the old ways that were comfortable and well known to me, and I am going to defend this land. This is the hill I'm going to die on, but they don't know they're really on a sinking boat. And the fifth dimension is coming up around them. And part of what I feel in this metaphor is a rising tide lifts all ships, and that part of our job as light workers and lighthouses is to keep projecting the light and illuminating the light, but I feel for myself that it makes me sometimes a bit of a target because it's the only thing that these blind people can see is the big bright light around them. And and that is a little bit dangerous at times. And it's about showing your light when and where it's gonna do good, when it's gonna help. It's not about spreading your energy frivolously all over the place. But the fifth dimension is coming, and I guess it was a lesson that I got from Baba with the garden when that girl, a girl like kind of attacked me in the garden or something. And I realized she loved the garden and I could have blocked her from going to the garden because she was totally out of control and like a crazy person. But what Baba showed me was that she loved the garden so much that like I could make her, he showed me like her footpaths. I could make her footpaths stop going to the garden. I could uh, deviate those footpaths to another place, but her, it wouldn't be good. It would be using my vital life energy to deviate somebody else's path. And that's a waste of my energy. And it's the same thing I feel with the suppression of speech, and that the gyroscopic precession is going to come back for these people because whenever we tell people to not speak and to not do expression, it's I could see that girl's love being in the in the tread of her footfalls, in the little path that she made with her little feet, walking back and forth to the garden all the time. And that's what I feel is like the beating of the heart is the beating of the drum. Um, it's not stopping. You can only deviate it, but you can't make it stop. And it's wrong to try to take away somebody else's free choice by trying to impose one's own will onto another person. It's just not the right thing to do. And it's folly. It's not right use of energy.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. So, was there anything else? You got it together?
Yeah.
Okay. Pure love. I think that's it. That's it. Okay. And I find that when I do anything that is like impatient or worried or something, that as soon as I do CNR, boom, it's gone.
Mm.
Let go. Okay. Okay. So now, Gian Das Prem, would you lead our song?
Sure. Okay, we'll do one cycle of breathing and then we'll go right into. So
Okay.
let's take an inhale together and exhale. Inhale to begin. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you. And the pure light within you guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on.
Inhale. Oh,
Um,
no. Bless you. Love you, love you, love you. All of you. And here we're going together. See,
mm,
bless you.
Thanks, everyone.
Baru.
Have a great week.
You as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Um,
No,